That's right. Welcome in, welcome back, folks, to a predictable segment entitled Paul Fine Powell. It ain't Paul, it's Powell. Powell. P-A-W-L. If you listen to his show, that's his name. Powell Finebaum, ripping Notre Dame edition of the Always Irish Show. As always, you can find that program on YouTube. Do it. Subscribe if you haven't yet. Appreciate it very much. Give the video a thumbs up if you approve of the content. It helps in the search algorithm. Notifications on. You get alerted every time something new rattles into whatever brain matter John has left. Twitter, search bar, Always Irish Rat, Always Irish Inc. Emails, alwaysirishindia@gmail.com. Audio only, anywhere you want the program, you can find it. Call in line, 312-900-8815. So, sure enough, the season excitement's upon us, and Uncle Paul's radio show's off to the races and everything else. But he's at it again. Paul's the mouth of the South in this sport, and everybody knows it. And the SEC affiliations, we all know what it is down there. It's fine. It's generally fine. It is what it is. You just know the dynamic. But he's at it again. He just can't help it. Paulie said about Notre Dame's position in the initial AP poll the following, quote, this is John twisting words, quote, Notre Dame, regarding Notre Dame, they shouldn't even be in the top 10. It's an absolute joke, and it happens every year with the AP poll, which is just as worthless as preseason NFL football. That's what Paul said. Let's break it down from a fundamental and factual standpoint, shall we? Here's issue number one. This is simply historically and factually incorrect. It's just a factually incorrect position, the premise of his comments. For the last 5 years, Notre Dame has finished higher in the AP poll than the position they started it in. Now, this argument's off to a bad start right off the bat, because his premise is flatly just not true. It's just not accurate. And I expect dumb fans on Twitter and social media of these other teams and conferences that hate us and hate the whole Notre Dame thing. I expect dumb people like that to say things like Notre Dame's overrated every year, even though factually it shows that's not accurate. And also this goes along with Notre Dame's weak schedule, plain factually inaccurate. Top 15 the last handful of years, usually top 15 every year with a couple outliers. That's a perfectly respectable enough schedule for playoff admittance. That's another trope that these other people use. And I just think it's to the point where they all hate Notre Dame so much that these tropes that aren't even true just get grandfathered in, and they're just generally acceptable to use railing against Notre Dame, and the facts be damned. That's what I feel like. But the overranking thing is factually, historically inaccurate. And Notre Dame never playing anybody, not playing a real tough schedule is also historically, factually inaccurate overall. You could find years where there's a couple outliers. You could also find years where Notre Dame's strength of schedule looks really tough before the year, but then certain teams aren't that good. So then at the end of the year, you look back on it and say, they didn't play any top 25 teams. Could just be that they beat some of those teams that caused them not to be good at the end, right? But that's the issue I have. The premise here is factually incorrect. But if you're talking to SEC people or conference people that generally don't have a good feeling to Notre Dame, nobody cares. What Paul says is gospel, must be true, rail on Notre Dame. Don't play anybody overrated every year, even though for the last 5 years, Notre Dame's finished higher in that poll than when they started, which disproves the entire theory of the exercise. So, but here's the thing with this. if Finebaum would have just said they shouldn't even be in the top 10, in my opinion, because I don't think they're that good this year, fine. Totally fine. I have no issue with that. I have no issue with that at all. If you would have just stopped there. If you just genuinely don't think Notre Dame's a top 10 team, fine. Fine. You're perfectly entitled to your own opinion. You are not entitled to your own facts. You're not. So a part of this is an opinion. If Paul's opinion is Notre Dame's not a top 10 talented team this year, fine. Fine. But leave the made up part out of it. The little kicker there. Leave that out of it. The second part about them being overranked every year. It's just not true, so stop saying it. So if you would have just left it at, I don't think they're a top 10 team this year, then we could debate the legitimacy of that opinion. But that at least is a debate, and I'm not going to rip somebody for having an opinion that may differ from mine or Notre Dame people. But you go too far when you use the overrated every year part as evidence to back up your opinion. I can't let you do that. I don't care if you're a hillbilly idiot on Twitter or Paul Finebaum and all the credibility he has and cachet he has. You can't make up your own facts. I'm just not going to allow it. Opinions, fine. Facts, no. But the other thing is, I'm really starting to wonder how much of a lot of people looking down on Notre Dame's outlook this year are people that are convinced Notre Dame's going to lose to Ohio State bad, and therefore they already have one loss week one, so we'll write them off for the year. I'm wondering if there's some of that creeping in some of the national perspective. Like, how much of this stuff overall is the team versus, like, the bias of the schedule, too? Like, I wonder if Notre Dame didn't have at Ohio State week one and had, like, Michigan's opening run of 4 or 5 high schools in a row to start the year, if people wouldn't be so hard on them right now. I really do think that week one situation has something to do with a lot of national people writing Notre Dame off. So I wonder, is it looking at the teams just as their talent and where you would rank their talent, or are people looking at the schedule and the conference and letting how hard or easy it's going to be for teams to end up in that top 10 of the AP poll throughout the year and then at the end of it? How much is that an influence on this versus just how good the team's going to be? Notre Dame probably will not look as good of a team as they're going to end up being week one against Ohio State. It's just the way it is. Week one, a lot of new pieces. But they're going to be a damn good team, barring a bunch of injuries. So I do wonder that. How much of this is just people writing them off, figuring loss to Ohio State, and then they're screwed, not top 10? I wonder that dichotomy. Now, does Freeman have a little Lou Holtz in him? Find a way to use this? Get this quote up in the Goog somewhere on a big screen? Print it in the locker room? Hell, I don't know. But if I'm going to Ohio State week one, I'm looking for a little edge and motivation wherever I can. That'd be a very Lou type thing to do. You got a little Lou in you? Maybe. We'll see. But again, overrated, overranked every year, factually not true. Notre Dame don't play nobody. I hear it every day of my life. Notre Dame don't play nobody. Well, you got 5 teams in the top 25 on the schedule. Ohio State, Clemson, top 5 teams. USC, pretty tough. Going to be tough. BYU, going to be tough. North Carolina, whatever. No schedule that has Ohio State, Clemson, and upstart USC on it could be considered weak this year. It just can't. So stop. So just stop. All right? So if you don't think Notre Dame's top 10 this year, Totally fine, but that's different than saying they're overranked every year. It's like the big game blowouts in the playoff. Notre Dame will go undefeated, make the playoff, then get killed by the elite of the elite. And then it comes out all over social media. Notre Dame, this proves they didn't deserve to be there. You're totally wrong. They ripped off an undefeated season. They do deserve to be there, and they just played a team with way, way better and deeper elite talent, and they got beat. That doesn't mean they didn't deserve to be there. Those are different things. Saying they're nowhere close to Alabama's talent is different than saying you didn't even deserve to be in the game. It just shows how much difference there is between the tip-top elite and where we've been at. So many of these anti-Notre Dame things are just kind of accepted and grandfathered in an unidentified pact agreement of anybody who doesn't like Notre Dame. That the facts don't matter. You could just say Notre Dame doesn't play anybody and they're overranked every year. People just will run with it because if it's against Notre Dame, it doesn't really have to be true. We could just run with it. And those are two you see every damn day. So if you don't think Notre Dame's top 10 this year, just say that and leave it at that. Leave all of these dumb, cheap, low-brow, low-intelligence, non-factual arguments out of it, Paul. All right? Just leave it out of it. Have a good one.